Another tie against a top 4 team. Man, I'm so tired of just not being able to cross that finish line. And we had our chances. But we also could have easily lost this game in the dying minutes. All right, everyone. Welcome back to the American Blues Podcast. I was not in town for the United game and then barely got back in town for the Noah game, so didn't really have a chance to make videos on those. But let's talk about Chelsea, Arsenal 1-1. Man, disappointed. I really thought we could have won that game. First thoughts is horrible ball to give away. You know, we knew Odegaard was back. He looked like he never left. I thought he might be still a little bit slow to come back, but man, what a player. Great look, great pass to the back post. Of course, time and time again this season, we tend to not mark the back post. And again, they had 2 players wide open. Martinelli got the ball, but again, Sanchez, like, near post from that angle, you should never be giving up that goal. Never. That should be an easy save. It was down to bad goalkeeper positioning that is purely on him. Costing us more points, man. More points. Although he did have several good saves in the game, so I suppose it evens itself out. But, you know, if we just had a top-level goalie, we would have the saves and we wouldn't have the errors. And in a fine margin game like this, just razor thin margins, a good goalie would have made a difference. But let's go through the game real quick. First of all, starting lineup. Really, the only big surprise was Malo Gusto starting ahead of Reece James. You know, I understand. Malo Gusto has been playing really well. He's incredibly athletic. If you look at his game today, my goodness, he was everywhere. He was playing right back at defense. He kept Martinelli, one of the fastest left wingers in the game, very quiet for the majority of the game. And then in build-up, he was in midfield. And then he was playing as the 10. There was even a moment where he should have scored his header and he was playing as the 9. Like, this guy was just absolutely everywhere today. And to be honest, I don't know if Reece James' hamstrings can handle that much of a load. In fact, I'm pretty sure they can't. And I think that reason alone is why Malo Gusto started. Because, you know, in terms of build-up, passing, crossing, shooting, everything is better when you compare James to Malo Gusto. But the only thing that Gusto has on top of him is athleticism in terms of just being able to cover ground without being injured. And of course, the latter part, which is being fit and not being injured. And to play that role the way Gusto does, that is a tough role. I feel like probably only Cucurella on the other side has the energy to play in that many positions in the game, just constantly sprinting back and forth, finding holes. Now, I feel like one of the side effects of Gusto playing over there is Palmer had to play on the left side. Honestly, his combination with Neto just wasn't really happening today. I felt like Palmer was in and out of the game. Sometimes he would have, you know, his influence. He did have a few free kicks where he, you know, unfortunately hit it straight into the wall. Several decent runs into the box that ended up with nothing. And then at the end of the game, I felt like Palmer had a really good chance from a Neto cross that was just beautiful. It was just hit a little bit in front of him. But, you know, what can you do? It's fine margins. This game was just all about fine margins. Now, I would say positive is we stood up to Arsenal. I felt like we played better for the majority of the game. We had good control. We played through their press. I felt like the first half, they weren't really interested in pressing. And then as the game on, they pressed harder and harder. And sometimes we were able to play through it. Sometimes we weren't. And then on the reverse end, I felt like sometimes our pressure wasn't really fully committed. And so they would easily play through our front press. But then there were times, especially at the end of the end of the first half, second half, you know, where our press did work and it put them under pressure and their out balls just came directly back to us. So I felt like it was just very evenly matched. I feel like our midfield matched the midfield incredibly well in terms of just talent and pace and technical ability. Both Lavia and Caicedo, I felt like matched up pretty well to Rice, Odegaard, and Thomas Partey, which is not easy to do. Those are giant guys, some of the best ball carriers in the game. Partey is just a destroyer. And there were times where we lost the ball, and that kind of led to our first goal, where I think it was either Caicedo or Lavia that lost the ball to Odegaard. And then, of course, things just went down from there. But, you're not going to win every midfield battle, but I did feel like we matched theirs pretty well. I felt like our defense was on point. Apart from that goal, we held one of the best free kick taking teams quiet. And that's impressive. We held our line. The only time that we fell asleep, thankfully, Havertz was offside by a margin. And so rightly so, that goal was called back. But I felt like defense deserves huge praise apart from Sanchez. Several more positives. There was a chance in the 23rd minute where, Neto has such a good run on the left side, just held the ball, kept trying to beat his man, and then finally his trickery beat Ben White pretty well. I felt like he hit that cross off of nothing at the end, made it straight onto Gusto's head, who unfortunately hit it right over the bar. Yes, he was under a lot of pressure, but still, he should be putting that on target, making that goalie work, at least hit the bar something. But to send that over the bar when it was pretty much a wide open net, just unlucky, man. And then Sanchez, again, like I said earlier, had a huge save in the 27th minute. So good on him. That's when he did stand strong against Martinelli. Put out a left hand, really strong left hand. Great save. And then another praise, I felt like Jackson, he started off the game very quiet, not very good when he came back and get the ball, kind of several loose first touches, several loose runs with the ball. But towards the end of this first half, second half, he was starting to carry the ball really well. He alone got 2 Arsenal players booked from his runs. So that was great. And unfortunately, the only chance that he finished, he was off like way a mile offside. Apart from that, I felt like he didn't influence the game all that much. He just, like I've always said, Jackson, he's good at what he's good at, which is coming back to get the ball, link up play, driving, pressing. What he's not good at is just taking the game and putting it on his back and getting us that goal when we need it. He's just not that kind of striker. And honestly, I don't know if he's ever going to be that kind of striker. Another really good chance, 52 minutes, cross in. I think it was Madueke this time. And Fofana, this was after a corner, so he was still up in the box. And somehow, again, hit the ball straight over the bar. He was under a ton of pressure. I'm surprised a penalty check wasn't called, but I suppose since he actually made it to the ball, they don't typically give those. He just happened to be facing the wrong way, trying a really hard kind of karate kick goal. Kind of reminds me of Haaland's goal from last year where he karate kicked the ball in. Obviously, low chance of success, but still, should he have hit the target? Probably. And I thought another big positive was Madueke really worked hard on the right side. He didn't have the best time going one-on-one, but every time that we really needed him, he was coming back to defense, sprinting back, helping out Malagusto. So I thought he did that really well. The one time that the back right was not covered is when we gave away the goal, but it was also when we lost the ball real quick. He was pretty high off the pitch. So I can't really blame him that much for not being able to sprint back into the box for that moment. Should he have tried harder? Who knows? I mean, I don't think he was anywhere even close to the box when that play was going on, so it's hard to say. And then finally, big positive is Pedro Neto. Good crosses. Less good 1v1 today, but man, his goal, he just got left open in midfield, took the ball from Enzo Fernandez and just drilled it into the bottom right. What a goal. You can tell just how annoyed the Arsenal players were that they left him alone, but still, he needed to finish. It was way outside the box. We don't score long-range goals all that often anymore. In fact, not too many teams do anymore. That's just not really where the game is at, but still, I love a good long-range shot. I think they're important. It makes the midfield nervous. It makes them need to mark people a little bit more. It creates more space for our attackers. So good on Pedro Neto. What a beast of a shot. Great goal. Now, on to negatives. Number one, I already mentioned it, the goal that we gave up. Ridiculous. All on Sanchez. Yes, we lost the ball in midfield. Yes, we didn't mark Odegaard well enough, their most dangerous player, for making that cross. We also left 2 people open on the back post, which is going to end up in the goal the majority of the time, but still, Sanchez has to do better. that ball cannot go into goal from that near of an angle, not on the near post. That's purely on the goalie. Like I said earlier, if we just had a world-class goalie, we would have Sanchez's save ability and minus all of his mistakes, which usually lead to goals. Apart from that, his passing wasn't horrendous. There wasn't any like egregiously bad passing. It's just more likely that if he was making a long-range pass, it just kind of ended up nowhere today. Another negative, which I feel like second half, I agree with the changes, although I felt like, again, Nkuku came on way too late. I felt like Jackson really wasn't showing that anything could change. And I think a player like Nkuku, who is way more clinical, maybe would have offered us, better attacking. And another thing that I thought about what might have helped, although it's always hindsight, I would have loved to see Sancho come on. I'm not sure if he was still ill. I felt like I saw him warming up, but I wasn't completely sure. So we could have used someone with a little bit more technical ability on that left wing, especially later in the second half when Arsenal were just trying. Finally, big negative, which is, man, I'm so tired of not being able to beat Arsenal. Like, our record against them in the last few seasons have been atrocious. Arteta has never lost against Chelsea. Today was the day to change that. I think they were there for the taking, and it's just so frustrating that at home, at our ground, we just seem to be almost there. We're so close to dominating the game, to put our footprint on them, and to just, hit them in the jugular and just cross that line, just win a damn game against the top 4 teams. We keep saying how well we played in these games, and we end up in draw or loss. And that's just not good enough. Like, if we want to climb up the table, and we really want to legitimately challenge Liverpool, who are just running away with the points in the title right now, like, we have to win these huge games. We have to take advantage when the chance is there. And I felt like today Arsenal were there to be beaten, and we just couldn't do it. And then another huge negative, which is, I feel like it's been a pattern this season when we are chasing the game at home. At the end of the game, we seem to completely lose control instead of pressuring their box again and again in a recycling possession and putting them under pressure. It's pretty much always us losing the ball in some dangerous position, giving away counterattack goals. And then again, at the very end of the game, the last second of the game, Arsenal could have easily scored. If it wasn't for Trossard, who's usually extremely clinical, getting it completely wrong and hitting wide, both him and Havertz should have scored that goal, and we would have lost. And that's on us for not having any control at the end of the game. I mean, I think that is the hallmark of a young team. They need more experience. They need to know how to stay calm, when to slow down, when to speed up, and just when to just pile on the pressure, especially at the end of the game when you can feel like you can win. The one thing that kills the game is just losing control, poor passing, poor touches. And we just need to cut that shit out, man. Like, if we just cut that out and we learn how to use stoppage time to our benefit, like, that would make a world of difference. But overall, I am frustrated. I felt like we could have gotten all 3 points. It's never fun tying or losing any points against Arsenal. God, I hate that team. But yeah, overall, we can't be too downbeat. We are still 3rd place going into the November international break. I think if you asked any Chelsea fan at the beginning of the season, would you take 3rd place going into November international break? Everyone would say absolutely. And with everyone else around us dropping points, it's not so bad. It's just that I still feel like we can realistically put pressure on Liverpool. But the more we drop points in games like this, the less and less that becomes likely. But still, overall, not going to be too negative. It's still a young team. We are so much better this season than last season. Of course, there's always points to a game where we could be better. Sanchez could be better in goal. We could make subs earlier, bring on Nkuku sooner, something, maybe a little bit of change in personnel system earlier today would have made a difference. But still, 3rd place going into November, not too shabby. And honestly, we have a very winnable run of games coming up until the winter break. Like, we should be getting maximum points, no excuses out of the next several games. And I think if we do, we'll be in an even better position, possibly even second, because City do not look like their normal self this year. So, yeah, we'll see after the break. See you guys after the next game. Peace.